good morning. My colleague talks about fairness in discussion. I don't know what he means by that, because if I'm here, I'm not supposed to be fair to him. I'm supposed to make my presentations. So fairness on your part or my part, because we are two here. So I need a clarification. But the discussions will go on in accordance with the way the discussions will go. And for me, I will state my points clearly, succinctly, and directly. So I don't know if that is unfair to him.
Aye. The man just made a simple statement. You are firing.
I wouldn't respond.
Okay.
I'll leave it there.
All right. So, again, we're grateful to all those who are donating. Just the last one was from the Chebi Presbyterian College of Education. And so we do encourage everyone also to be part. They gave us sorted out. They also even added cash items, and then also 6,000 Ghana cedis. Sonny Kwashi, good morning to you, my great friend. Engineer Asamoah, used to be with AESL. Good morning to you as well. Money, my great friend based in the UK. Amama Gold, Imelda Nassar, Ras Kotoka, and I have all of you, Alfred Dodu, all of you. And we thank you very much. Prince Henry, you're based in Koforidua. Thank you for always tuning in. It's always important that all of us get a conversation. This morning, there is a poll by Global Info Analytics indicating that in the lead for the NPP primaries, we have Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the vice president. Coincidentally, the president also had made a comment publicly as to being the reasons why he decided to choose Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as vice president. On social media, it's been interpreted to mean it's a tacit endorsement in the run-up, because we are in the eve of the election. The election is on November 4, and as your election command center, we're going to bring to you. So we'll bring that to you. But we're on Facebook, we're on X, used to be called Twitter. And then also, we're also on the various streaming platforms, and we encourage you. Prince Anani Salas, it's been a while, my brother. Bernard, thank you also for joining us. We have cash out. It's please, whilst we're donating, make sure you cash out, you win, you transfer some to our mobile money account for 3 Foundation Media General. We donate to the victims, you take some. So please increase your chances of winning by staking more, so that you donate some to the Media General 3 Foundation Relief Fund account. And then you can take some, we also take some. Okay, Ajana 1, Ajana 2, Chempers. So we beg you. And then also we have Dewa 539 Chop Money. Exilis Dwayne, you're also there. Now, please, let's listen to the president.
Madam. My name is Acha, and I want to ask why, out of all people, did you choose Dr. Bawumia as your vice president?
Of all the people, why did I choose Dr. Bawumia as my vice president? Oh, goodness, those are many, many questions. But I think you're aware of our country in terms of the balance, people from the south, people from the north. I think that for the unity of the country, it is good that we have a leadership where northerners and southerners are together, so that the country can remain united. He's from the north, and I wanted somebody from the north to partner me for the elections and then for the governance. He's also a very clever man, and I needed his brains to help me govern the country effectively. And he's an honest person. He speaks honestly to you. He's not one of those people who have to guess what they're trying to say. He will say what he has to say very directly, and I like that. I prefer to deal with people who are also very direct in what they say. But these are some of the reasons why I chose Dr. Bawumia to be my vice president.
And following that, we also do know that Global Info Analytics has put the vice president up there, and Kennedy Japan, well, following, but overwhelmingly saying that the vice president could win. And if you look at the margins, it also means that the vice president has a lot of support within the delegate base of the NPP. So, what do you make of all these? It looks like the race was decided even before it started.
Well, good morning to you. Good morning to my senior colleague, and good morning to the people of Sisala East. Let me first of all express my appreciation to TV3 for the efforts that you are making in getting relief for the affected people in the Volta, Eastern, and some parts of the northern region were affected by the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. I mean, it is such an enormous job that you are doing, and many other media houses and individuals who are contributing so much to give hope and keep livelihood of the affected people. I so much appreciate your effort, and I thank you and the many others who are supporting these affected people. Now to the question of whether it was decided before the race started. I don't think so. I mean, anybody who wants to go for an election must work very hard for it. And from where I sit, I think that the vice president has, over the last 16 years, ever since he was selected as running mate in 2008 to President Akufo-Addo, he's been working very hard. He's somebody who has visited every constituency more than 5 times over the period, and he keeps visiting, he keeps interacting with constituents and party people, and virtually has won the hearts of many, many people who sees him as a very hard-working person, as somebody.
The vice president.
Yes, very hard-working. I mean, Roland, you see him all over the place in the political space, across all regions, across all constituencies. There are politicians who never visit some regions in 4 years, who never visit a constituency in 4 years. But the vice president, on daily basis, if you follow him, you see him moving around the country and working. And so, I mean, they say hard work pays. So I sincerely believe that it is the hard work over the period that has gotten him that massive support. And the fact that people are convinced, people within the NPP are convinced that he's the best person to lead the NPP to break the 8. You know, since this republic, no party has gone beyond 2 terms. So it's not going to be easy having...
So the vice president is the one who can lead to the NPP to go beyond the 2 terms.
Beyond the 2 terms, and I believe that is why he's enjoying such massive support from across the country and within the party. Unfortunately, some people, especially our opponents, try to suggest, even some people within the party try to suggest that people are being whipped in line, people are being forced to support. Roland, in this day and age, can anybody force me as a member of parliament who has been elected by, first of all, I went through primaries, and the delegates in my constituency elected me as candidate. I went through general election, and I was elected as an MP. And the determination whether I come back to parliament or not will be determined by my constituents and nobody in Accra.
Really?
Yes. It's my constituents who, first of all, it is the party delegates who will determine whether I'll be re-elected to be the party's candidate. And if I am able to achieve that, it is the constituency, Sisala East people who determine whether they'll bring me back to parliament or not. It is not anybody in Accra. So there's no way anybody can force me or can gag me to support somebody if I don't choose to do so. I mean, it's not possible. And so my decision to support Dr. Bawumia certainly cannot be because I have been whipped in line.
I'm told that you, the MP, started a strategy.
What strategy?
By choosing your own MMDCs. And then following that...
That is not true.
It's just rumor?
That is not true. There are many MPs who have DCs which they didn't support. Of course, there are others who have the MMDCs who they supported. There are others who got MMDCs who they didn't support. So it is not true that MPs determine the choice of MMDCs. It's not true. Some coincidentally, some MPs got the people they wish they wanted. Some didn't get. I know many of my colleagues who didn't get the choice of MMDCs they wanted. Of course, there are others who, because it is the power of the president to determine who becomes MMDC. So if, in your estimation, you want Mr. A, and it happens to fall within the expectation of the president, then you may get that favor. But if it doesn't, of course, it's not possible that you get the person that you wanted. And I mean, there are several examples out there that not all MPs got the choice of MMDCs they wanted. So the point I am making is that the Vice President, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has worked hard to become the flag bearer. And the decision of delegates to vote for him in the Super Delegates Conference could not have been people being whipped in line. Party executives, how are they being whipped in line? I mean, on what grounds? Members of Parliament, national executive officers, founding members of the party. I mean, how can this category of people, the elite group within the party, be whipped in line? I mean, we've had primaries before where it is perceived that the certain president supports somebody and the person doesn't. I mean, for instance, in 2007, it was perceived that President Kufuor wanted Alan. I don't know what. At the time, I was a constituency secretary.
You were constituency?
Yes, I was constituency
So how do you
secretary.
feel now that President wants Bawumia?
But President hasn't told me he wants Bawumia. As I sit here, I mean, President has never indicated anywhere that he wants Bawumia. I mean, I can deduce from probably his that maybe he may want Bawumia, but he hasn't told me directly anywhere that he wants Bawumia. But the point I am making is that there is no way somebody can be whipped in line. Reasonable people like us. I mean, are we stooges, MPs? Are we stooges that we don't know our left from right? That somebody can force us to go and vote for somebody that I don't want? I mean, how is that possible? Because my re-election or otherwise is going to be determined from my constituency, not from the presidency, not from Accra, not at the NPP headquarters. If the headquarters even wants me, and the delegates of the salaries don't want me, on the day of voting, and I have people who are contesting me, and I have accepted the contest. It's a democratic process. I contested a sitting MP, and I was elected. So today, if people are contesting me, why will I say that it is not fair? I mean, I have to go for the contest. So at the end of the day, it is the constituency who determine my destiny as to whether I will continue as MP or not, and not anybody in Accra. So the issue of people being whipped in line is completely out of place. And now to my last point, the comments of the president being perceived as a tacit endorsement of Dr. Bawumia. Well, I mean, I would say it's coincidence. School children visited him, and they were allowed to ask the president questions. And fortunately or unfortunately, one of them asked why, among all the people of Ghana, he decided to choose Dr. Bawumia as his vice president. And of course, the president has a duty to answer. And I believe probably the president would have spoken more if not for the current circumstances.
He told you that?
That is my suspicion. But because of the current circumstances, he had to be measured so that people don't see it. Because if he had gone even beyond this, then you would have seen the reactions and counter-reactions and all that. But the president, under the circumstances, had to. And he gave, I believe, his honest answers of the fact that he was considering the northern, southern, as a candidate who was from the south. He thought that for national cohesion and national unity, there was a need for him to pick somebody from the north so that there is that kind of balance and tolerance and national cohesion. And above that, he felt the vice president had the required knowledge and intellect to support him in terms of ideas and to run his government and all that. And the fact that the man is an honest man, I mean, and anybody who knows Dr. Bawumia would agree that he's a very honest man. He speaks his mind. He's a straightforward person. And he's somebody you can always enjoy working with. So I believe it's just coincidence. It was not a deliberate attempt by the president to make a comment by way of saying positive things about the vice president as a way of endorsing him or appealing to delegates to vote for him. No. And I don't think that this statement is the statement that will determine how delegates will vote. Delegates already have.
They've decided who they want.
Decided who will help us break the 8, and that is Dr.
Now,
Bawumia.
I have Pakwesi Oreni who is saying supporting someone means he or she is your preferred one. I don't think mature people like this can be forced to like or support a candidate. I think also going with your points.
Yes, yes.
On the sidelines, what do you make of all this from the opposition party? Because you already have John Dramani Mahama as the presidential candidate to go into 2024.
Let me start by saying good morning to your viewers, to you, and to my colleague here. If the president were smart, he would know that the question asked by that schoolboy was pregnant.
The question was what?
Pregnant.
Why?
So if somebody comes to Media General, walks to your management and say, of all the journalists here, why is Roland Walker hosting the show? It means he has problems with you. It means he has problems with you. It means he's not satisfied. So even school children know that Bawumia is a disaster.
How so?
I've just given you an analogy, using yourself. And when I used yourself, I'm sure it entered your head and you understand what I'm saying. That means that if a school child even knows that Akufo-Addo, the president, chose a wrong person, then we need to sit up as a people. Because if you say the man is hardworking, what are his outputs? His outputs are what? Dollar is now close to 12 cedis. The second output is not debt to GDP is almost 99%.
Close of the year, according to Fitch.
Yeah, almost. And then his other output is that petrol is a liter is 11.99. So this child who sits in his father's car to be driven to school will get to the filling station when the father wants to buy petrol and the father is complaining. So this child has that at the back of his mind. So these are the reasons for which the child asked that intelligent question. But the president didn't see through and started rattling. And I dare to say that if there are people in this country who are reeling under the pressure of this government, under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and want to see the back of this government, Bawumia is not your choice. Because Bawumia is a sidekick of the current president. Bawumia today is enjoying protection and support from the current president. In fact, Bawumia is the candidate for the establishment. So it is no wonder and surprising that you have the president speaking eloquently about the man when indeed his output is abysmal. The economic management team is not the one in charge of it. How is our economy? These are the things you'll be talking about. How is our economy? Our economy is in shambles. And so you cannot say that Bawumia, he's clever. Where has his cleverness centered? Into economic mess. He's honest. When we all know that Bawumia is deceitful. Why? You remember when they were doing something, their program in Cape Coast, and I think they were launching their manifesto also, and told the people of Cape Coast that they were going to be given an airport.
Yes.
Is that honesty to the people of Cape Coast? The Central Region people? Is that what we call honesty? And you say the man is from the north. Yes, he's from the north, but the man himself has identity crisis. The man went to Asantini and said that he's a son of Asantini. That's identity crisis. If you say that, what would Nairis watching you kneeling before Asantini and saying that I'm your son, fail? How will the Nigeria fail?
Well, somebody will say that he's trying to identify with.
It is just like the way he's jumping from church to mosque and doesn't know where he belongs to.
Oh, how is that a matter?
It's a matter.
How?
It's a matter within the Muslim community. It's a matter. Let the people identify you for who you are and vote for you. Don't be flirting left, right, center. So he has identity crisis. The man himself, he thinks that he will only be accepted if he belongs to a certain group of people. So you are from the north, but you want Asantini Joki as a son. Is that how you can get your votes? Is that the only way? So identity crisis.
All right.
And I dare say that, you see, we live in a country where misgovernance has become the norm. And so if things are going bad, you still have people praising the bad things. But I have no problem with the misgovernance. Because for the misgovernance, I knew from day one that we were going to face misgovernance. But my problem has to do with those who come onto TV and radio stations defending the misgovernance. When you talk, then they say, no, that's the right thing to do. My problem lies with those people.
Okay. Mr. Musa Dankwa, he leads Global Info Analytics as executive director. They're one of the strongest pollsters or research groups that we have currently. Mr. Musa Dankwa, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Now, the latest poll that you've undertaken on the NPP's primary, that is coming on the 4th of November, you say Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is leading. What are the benchmarks that gave him the lead? And by what margin is he going to win or lead in that election?
Question very good. We asked delegate 2 or 3 simple questions. We asked them whether they approve or disapprove the performance of the president. And in that instance, 79% of them approve of his performance, and 15% disapprove, and 6% did not have opinion. And then we asked them in the upcoming primaries, who would they vote for to elect as a candidate to the NPP? You have 43.5% saying you vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and 23.5% said they would vote for Kennedy Ejipon, and 0.4 saying that they would vote for Adaini, and 0.3 would vote for Dr. Afriya Kutu. And you have a whopping 14% telling us that they know who they would vote for, but they won't tell us. And then a further 18.3 saying that they were undecided. So you could see that none of them at the moment is above 50%, which means that the fate of the candidates will lie in the hands of those who are not disclosing their intentions to us and those who said they were undecided.
And so those...
And that together is about 32%.
32...
Big enough to swing the race.
32%. 32% you say?
Yes.
Those undecided and then...
Yeah.
Okay.
And not disclosing delegates.
What is giving him the favor?
So you will see that there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, for those who are not disclosing, I think they know where they are voting and they won't tell us. So those people are out of frame. If there is any hearts or minds to vote, that number will be within the 18% who said they were undecided.
If you listen to the closest person you say will be closer to him in that election on November 4, Kennedy Ejipon and his camp, they impugn all sorts of actions or ill actions that people have been whipped into line within the structure of the party, whether from MPs, from government appointees, etc. Did you in any way try to find out whether that has any influence at all? Zabusa Dankwa?
It's frozen.
Okay. All right.
Yes, back. He's back.
Hello.
So, if you listen to Kennedy Japan's camp, and you're saying he will be the second individual, they insinuate all sorts of things that people within the structure of public appointment or the appointment of the party since they came into government have been whipped into line. Do you see any measure of that indicator being true or influencing voters in favor of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia?
I think when it comes to the grassroots, you can't whip anybody to be in line. They are the ordinary members of the party at the very lowest level of the party, about 200,000 of them.
Okay.
You can't whip those in line. But those who are not willing to disclose their voting intention probably fear some repercussions if they do. And we understand from our discussion with some of the delegates, they are more gravitating towards the anti-establishment. So they are more likely to be Kennedy supporters than Bawumia supporters.
Why is Kennedy closing the gap? Because from the last poll, the figures you had brought up in terms of who will be paired against John Mahama, you made those. Why is Kennedy seemingly closing the gap?
I mean, it's all about momentum. I mean, when they went to the superdelegates elections, and he surprised everyone to place second, and his outburst, I think that was the day that his fortune in the race changed dramatically. And he's been on the ascendancy since, even though there was a slight blip when Alan drops. But he's also made a recovery since then, and he's on the ascendancy. And for any pollster, I mean, if you look at the trend curve that we have shown, you can see that even though Dr. Bawumia is leading, his curve is downward trending. And from the time he took the polls to now, if that trend continues, it means he may be slagging a few points below what we said he's got in the last poll. And that should be a worrying thing for him. He must work to maybe stop the slope from going downwards.
But clearly, Dr. Bawumia is in the lead.
He has 20-point lead at the moment, 20 points lead. Just that he's very unfortunate not to be above 50% because of the undisclosed and undecided voters.
But he could still win because those
yes. In fact,
those numbers are here.
If you look at our models, we are saying that he will win.
Because I remember in the Asen North election, we had a lot of undecided voters, and so it swung towards the end.
It swung. Yeah. You know, if you look at where Dr. Bawumia is, 43.5%. It's just about 6.5% shy of the 50% mark.
Okay.
So we believe that he's going to be able to get that and cross above the 50% plus one.
Okay. Let me ask you a last question before you go, because I know you have an appointment with another station. If Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia wins, how is it going to fare nationally in terms of selling his persona and his values in relation to performance in government as vice president to the general populace?
I think your answer lies in the poll we just did in October among Ghanaians. I mean, on the very key issue that matters to Ghanaians at the moment, competence on an economy, I think he's lagging behind John Mahama. And then if you look at who people want to vote for in the 2024 elections, John Mahama is on 48%, Bawumia on 28%, and Alan on 11%. Wow.
That's a very low rate, but we're not there yet, so we'll see how that goes. Thank you very much, Mr. Musa Dankwa, and they've put together the poll. And so I have some key individuals. Kwesi Mensah in the US says, I have a question for the Member of Parliament and the Minister. He said MPs are not children and they can't decide for themselves. But he points out, what about those NPP MPs who wanted the removal of Ken and were called to the Jubilee House and have since been quiet? Well, if you relate it to be under control.
I have some few issues I want to respond to from my brother. But, I mean, the point he raises, the fact that MPs demand for the removal of a minister or a government appointee.
And are whipped into line.
They are not whipped in line. I mean, after the press conference, there was a meeting between members of parliament and the president. And a lot of discussion went on. And out of the discussions, I mean, the demands were, slowed down. And I don't think that the fact that there was engagement and the people who demanded for the removal of the finance minister means that they have been whipping line. In politics or in democratic practice, when you raise concerns or you make demands, it's subject to discussion and negotiation and understanding, and sometimes coming to a compromise. That doesn't mean that you have necessarily been whipping line. I don't think so. And it is the democratic right of members of parliament to disagree with the president on some appointment. But the president also still reserves the right to keep to his decision. That doesn't mean that those members of parliament have been whipping line. But to some issues that Lawyer Malba raised, I mean, he's somebody I respect so much because I started watching him long before I came into the media space. So he's by far my senior, and I have a lot of respect for him. But you see, we have to be circumspect in some discussions that we have. Both Dr. Bawumia, as a Muslim, and former President John Mahama, who is NDC's candidate, as a Christian, will appeal to the opposite side.
Whether Christian or Muslims. Okay.
It doesn't mean that the fact that John Mahama recently attended the Mualud program in Kumasi, where a Muslim program, he was received, he was given the audience, he spoke on the platform, and former President Mahama has been going to Muslim programs. Does it make him a Muslim? Should that stop him from the fact that he's a Christian? He should not have interactions with Muslims. So if Dr. Bawumia go to churches to interact with churches, what is it? Bring identity crisis in him. He's the vice president. He's a politician. The people he leads, some of them are Muslims, some of them are Christians, some of them are traditionalists and all that.
Buddhists,
and you need to work with all of them. There must be national cohesion. There must be togetherness, irrespective of your
Nimani says, I should ask you, why is it that he went professing Jesus Christ? He says you can go and preach to Christians without professing Jesus Christ as the Savior and Messiah if you are a Muslim. He says that it is haram.
You see, it depends on. That is why in Christianity, you have different sets of Christians, isn't it? Sometimes the understanding of the Bible varies. Is that not the case? Muslims have the same thing. So, I'm a Muslim.
So Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is what?
Listen, I'm a Muslim.
Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is what?
He's a Muslim.
Which sect of the Muslim?
I don't know. I can't speak for him. But the point I'm trying to make is that in Islam, as a Muslim, my understanding is that Jesus Christ, the Quran, recognizes Jesus Christ as a prophet. The only disagreement of we Muslims, or from my understanding, is Jesus Christ being said to be the Son of God and being God. But Muslims recognize him as a prophet of God who even came before Prophet Muhammad. So he's mentioned in the Quran. So if, Dr. Bawumia as a Muslim mentions him as a prophet, as somebody who came before Prophet Muhammad and all that, how can that be haram? It depends on the person's understanding of Islam or Christianity. But the point I am making is that the fact that me, as a Salaman, says that Roland, who is I don't know your tribe.
It's a Ghanaian.
But he comes from a part of Ghana. Okay, you are a Frafra man, I know you. If I say Amalaba, a Frafra man is my brother, how is that identity crisis? How is that? So if your Vice President Bawumia says that Otumfuo is his father, that becomes identity crisis.
So as an man, if I go and say Otumfuo is my chief,
he's your chief. I mean, that cannot be identity crisis. No. Every chief in Ghana, especially for politicians,
it's our chief.
You have to respect the person as a chief. If the person is a fatherly figure, you see him as a fatherly figure. If the person is a senior brother, I mean, you see him as a senior brother. That doesn't give you identity crisis. So, Amalaba, on this point, I'm quite disappointed. You can't say that the fact that the vice president visits churches and interacts with Christians, he identifies with Otumfuo as his father, creates identity crisis. No, not at all.
Okay.
I mean, we all adopt people who are from different parts of the country, or even from outside the country, as a fatherly person who will support you, who will guide you in whatever you want to do. And that doesn't bring you identity crisis. So, and John Muhammad, that same. Now, he also talks about the question the child asks to mean that the child felt the vice president was a disappointment, and that is the point. I mean, you can have your interpretation. But for me, none of us is on the mind of the child. But the child asked the president, why will you choose Bawumia among the many people that you can decide to interpret?
He's saying that because of the times we are in, as an empire, middle person, you should know how to answer it.
I mean, what times? There are economic challenges in Ghana. Nobody has.
We are going to an election.
Listen.
To elect somebody to lead the governing party, and you as president,
are you suggesting that you shouldn't have answered the question?
It's not my suggestion. I'm taking comments from social media.
So the president should have answered the question.
Should have been smarter than that.
What's the matter?
Should have answered it.
Lawyer, don't use these unkind words. What
Must
do
be
you mean
smarter
by?
than that.
So the president wasn't smart?
No, he wasn't smart on this occasion.
So how would you have treated the question?
I'm not the one they asked the question.
But I'm asking you.
You cannot ask me.
Tell us what you would have done. So you can't just be mischievous.
If you want to ask me questions, apply to media general.
I am saying, if you were in the president's shoes, how would you have answered the question?
Apply to media general
you see the
for the
hypocrisy.
position of,
he has no option
of a host.
You see, he's just being mischievous.
What do you mean by
Otherwise, he should have told us that if I were the president,
answer your questions.
If I were the president, I would have answered this way, so the Ghanaians would judge you.
Okay. Do you think the president should have answered it the way he did?
Yes, for me, that is the way he should
when we have an election.
If I were the one,
just next.
I am saying that if I were in the president's shoes, that is the way I will answer it. You ask me why I chose the man as my vice president, I will tell you why I chose him. So he should tell us, if he were in the shoes of the president, how he would have answered it. Until then, he has no basis to say the president wasn't smart.
Okay.
If you are smart and you would have been smarter, tell us how you would have answered it so the Ghanaians can make a judgment. You can't just come and pass loose commentary and expect us to accept it. And you see, the hypocrisy of the NDC. You are telling us that the economic times, we all agree. There is no member of the NPP who has ever said that.
You don't think the economy is facing a difficulty, and then that would be a key indicator or benchmark for measuring whether Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has performed well or not?
I am saying that there is no NPP member who has on any platform said that times are not hard. There are no challenges with our economy. We all admit it. But you see, you must also put it into perspective.
Which is what? COVID, Russia, Ukraine.
Tell me, before COVID, tell me any economy around the globe which today is doing better than it was doing before COVID. Tell me one.
What has that got to do with the Ghana economy?
We are in a global economy.
The whole world has collapsed.
Yes. Every country.
Which countries have collapsed?
Every country's economy has been affected one way or the other. And I'm telling you,
tell me one. When was the last time you traveled?
You don't need to travel before you know. If on your phone you are seeing a lot of things.
Which country did you travel to the last as a member of parliament?
No, go and Google US economy and you tell Ghanaians what is happening to their economy. You don't need to travel to US. Go and Google Nigeria's economy. You'll be able to tell what is happening in Nigeria's economy.
What has that got to do with us?
I am telling you that we are in a global crisis. When former President Mahama, who is now seeking to be president, between 2014, the last 4 years he was president, between 2012 and 2016, local issues of managing electricity. Where did he take us to? That was no global. It was a Ghanaian problem. He couldn't manage it. And Ghana was in serious crisis for 4 years. Companies collapsed. There was doom, so people suffered. Today, we are in a situation where the whole world, every country in the globe is affected. Every country's economy is affected. Go and check US. Go and check UK. Go and check Nigeria. In one way or the other, every country's economy has gone down. You cannot tell me a single economy in the world which is doing better today than it was doing before COVID. And Ghana is not an exception. Ghana is not an exception. So even though we admit that things are difficult, but the circumstances that led to the difficulty is not something that was out of mismanagement by the government. I mean, I sincerely believe that there were certain decisions that we took that probably we could have done better. But generally, the crisis that we are confronted with is global in nature. And every country's economy is affected. It's not just Ghana. And so when you are discussing it, because of political expediency, you just want to create discontent among Ghanaians so that they can vote for you. There's no problem about that.
So there's a report. There's a.
But in 2024,
please.
we are going to compare
in the United States,
President Mahama.
Unlike us, please. You want to ask me a question? Please let me ask you a question.
But you tell us where they were and where they are today.
The United States.
Yes.
They have a department, unlike us, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Department of Labor. So they tend to put together jobs that are created. And just last month, they created 170,000 jobs. August, it was 187,000.
As part of the recovery process. Because at a point, jobs had
putting matters in, but you are saying the economy has collapsed.
Yes.
So I'm telling you, I'm putting matters in.
We are recovering. Ghana too is recovering.
Really?
Yes.
How many jobs have we created?
What was the state of our inflation?
Okay, so
5 months ago, what was the rate of inflation?
It's now 38%.
It has gone down, isn't it?
Compared to other
our
neighbors.
city depreciated to a certain point. Fuel went.
It's going up.
Fuel went as high as about 21 cedis
so you
per liter.
That.
But it has come down. So we are recovering, just like America is recovering. But the point I want to make to you, Roland, is that the NDC's presidential candidate, John Mahama, has been president before. Over 4 years as president. We saw his presidency. Vice President Bawumia has not been president. He's been vice president. And you and I know that the power of the president cannot be the same as vice president. In fact,
then he shouldn't be leading the economic management team.
Oh, I mean, you are a member of the. He's the chairperson of the economic
John
management
Mahama was vice president and leading the economic management team.
And
if you look at the current state of the economy,
let me tell you,
please. If you look at the current state of the economy, and you compare it to a period when John Mahama was vice president, we didn't go for bailouts. We didn't restructure our debt. That's true.
But we went for bailouts.
We went for bailouts when he was president. Yes, but not when he was vice president. Because he
became the ultimate and went for bailouts. Okay.
And even when we went for...
So are we now comparing a vice president to a president?
When he was even a president and we went to the IMF, the economy did not go to junk status, for which currently we're told that by close of the year, and we're already at close of the year, because really, by this time, we're preparing to read the budgets, right? So the financial year has ended for Ghana. And if you look at what Fitch has already indicated just yesterday, we're going to have a debt rate to GDP ratio, 99%. It clearly means that for all that your GDP is worth, your liabilities or your debts are 99% of that. We're clearly not in good times.
But Roland,
and the comparisons are not the same.
Roland,
anyway,
Roland,
no,
you can't have the whole time.
No. Oh,
yes.
You just made the point.
Do you want to host for me so that I'll replace our comment? Okay.
If you give me the
chance,
please
I'll just relax for me. Now, that will mean that at the end of the day, the stage is set, and clearly, from what Global Info Analytics is saying, it's a comparison between the choice of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the would-be presidential candidate of the NPP, and then John Dramani Mahama. He says that...
But when you look at the info...
analytics, the Global Info Analytics.
It is not home and dry for Bawumia yet. It's not home and dry yet. Because when you look at the percentages, there's 14% undecided and 18 will not disclose or something, maybe vice versa.
14 will not disclose and 18 undecided.
Okay. Now, when you put those ones together, it's a huge number. And considering the intimidation in the party, the fact that you must belong to Bawumia's camp, else you'll be ostracized. Considering that one, this 14 and 18% could go in favor of Ohina Ajapong. When that happens, he will get 55%. But it is shocking for me to know that with all this state support for Bawumia, he's still lurking around 46% or 40 what?
Which state support?
Why? Is there no government in power? With this state support
lawyer.
For Bawumia,
No.
it is shocking that he's not even close the 50%. You get my point? So it's not home and dry yet, and that's why I want to tell viewers that don't go home sleeping and thinking that, oh, Bawumia has won it. Particularly when the delegates are going to be people from the grassroots whom the national executives and the president don't have direct contact with, and they can do what they want. It is people like him who can be whipped into line. But the ordinary polling station executive, some of them, and I heard one of them in Kumasi say that ever since she started voting, she's not won anything. She's not gotten anything from this party.
The woman who said she collected the money.
I'm happy you have seen it, and it's ready to sell. So not everybody at that level has been whipped into line. But you see, let's assume that Bawumia becomes their flag bearer. The comparisons will be like day, light, and night between the two, John Mahama and Dr. Bawumia. The reason being what? There is a certain record. Which record is that? When John Mahama was president, we were not buying our dollar at 12 cedis. We were not buying petrol at 11 cedis, 99 pesos a liter. Debt to GDP ratio was not 99%. So Ghanaians will look at these things. And when they look at these things, they know clearly who can manage us out of these doldrums. But for me, when they go and they elect Bawumia, it is good for we in the NDC because it is the easiest task. The easiest task because Bawumia has got videos, audios of what he said about this economy when he was in opposition. Bawumia is not even confident enough to kick against e-levy when he spoke against it in opposition. He talked about e-levy being he talked about the Momo. He talked about Momo as being the bank for the poor, and so he thinks that shouldn't happen. An honest person will stand up to the truth and stand up to what he believes in. Did that honest person do that? So the president was just putting words together. It's not about going to mosque or not going to mosque or going to a church. What you go there to say, you can see from Bawumia's posture, time without number, that he tries to want to belong anytime he finds himself in a church or he finds himself at a Ashantinese palace. He tries to ensure that he plays the game in such a way that if he doesn't speak in those tones, he will not belong. As if to say that if he insists on his Muslim religion and without equating it to the Christian religion, he has not arrived.
How?
He thinks that to arrive means that I tell the Asantini, I am your son.
Or you must be professing that.
Or you must say that, oh, your brothers, 11 of them or 15 of them were Christian. This is unnecessary. You are a Muslim in a religion, in a Christian church. You are there to solidarize with them. The chief imam has been in a mosque. Has been in a church.
He didn't say Jesus Christ was Messiah. We'll come back to
the chief imam has been in a church.
Okay.
In a church.
Roland.
He didn't make such comments that would look like he's yearning to have the Christendom accept him. No. So it is the things you say when you go there. And Bawumia hasn't got that. And I think that it is poor on his part.
I have this one from Edem, and he says that it is shocking, the comparison being made by the deputy minister. Just even go to the border here in Togo. 1,000 sefa, which is equivalent to 20 Ghana cedis, can be used to prepare soup. That is their state of the economy. It is because their inflation is lower. What can 20 Ghana cedi do for someone in Ghana? These are the real economic issues which should mean that we shouldn't be comparing countries arbitrarily when they should not be compared. Now, I also have this one from John Pano who said, please ask him, did the Vice President call John Mahama Malam John? Okay, I've not heard anywhere. So, Alhaji Hamza Pickfam says, what is Dr. Bawumia bringing on board this time around? Okay.
But you see, when I've not finished. When you go to the Paga border, somebody talk about Afalawa. When you go to the Paga border, our money, cedis, are not accepted. So the traders there across the Burkina Faso side will sometimes be laughing at our traders when they remove the Ghana cedis. We have become a laughing stock. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And the comparison of inflation and that it is coming down, where did you take it from before it's now coming down? And that's what the listener has asked.
Yes,
that
in terms of
comparison,
the living standards.
You see, Roland.
All right.
Roland, let me say this.
No, let's.
You see, when you talk about the dollar depreciation, the cedi depreciation against the dollar, where did the NDC in their last 8 years take the dollar from? Calculate in percentages.
Why should we calculate?
Yes, the level
we don't
of
eat percentages.
It matters.
We don't eat percentages.
That's why you are illiterate.
We don't eat percentages.
The level of depreciation and the NDC
so
is
you're saying
higher than it is today.
We don't eat percentages.
Because
nobody eats percentages.
Deputy Minister.
Nobody eats percentages.
Because you are being dishonest.
Deputy Minister.
The level of depreciation
we
and
eat absolute figures.
Deputy Minister.
I am telling you.
We spend absolute figures.
Listen to me. It's okay. Deputy Minister. You were just here. You said last year inflation went as far as 54%.
Yes.
Yes. And you are saying that it's coming down.
It's coming down, yes.
So you do acknowledge that the situation worsened. Yes, we're still in a worse situation.
I have admitted that there is hardship. There are difficulties. But I am also trying to.
Do you want to ask the question? So my question is, in 2017 January, when the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was inaugurated, what was the rates with the US dollar, CD dollar rate? Don't run away. Don't.
Oh, I will not run away. I will not run away.
What was the rate?
I am saying.
Japan has even publicly said.
Oh, as for when people.
No. So what was the rate? It's a question.
What it was what is it? 4.2. 4.2.
4.2. Depends on where. What is the rate today?
It's about 12 cedis.
Okay, so please, it's a question. So if I had 4.2 Ghana cedis, that's 4.2 Ghana cedis per dollar. I could get 4.2 Ghana cedis, and I have $1,000. It also means that I could get 4,000. Is that not it?
Yes. So I appreciate your point.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me also bring my perspective. We are discussing.
So listen. Now the dollar you say is 12.
Yes.
It depends on how quickly you want it. You may buy some even at 12, right?
Yeah, or even less.
Okay. So if I want that dollars, I have to take 12 Ghana cedis to get $1. It's not the same, right?
Yes.
So you appreciate that the situation has worsened.
Yes.
Okay. So how do you compare something that is worse to something that was better?
Listen.
All right. Let's talk about relief.
Roland,
No, let's talk about relief.
No, you can't just
relief items.
No, Roland.
Yes, let's go.
Relief,
we are not being
fair.
You started.
I am saying
you started the discussion.
What was the dollar to the cedi when President Mahama was vice president and president? Calculate the rate of increment and you see that.
Why should we calculate the rate?
It's part of determining.
No, we're not.
It's part of determining
how good you are. The percentage rate.
It is important.
We're not going
so
to
it was depreciating more under Muhammad than today. And I'm telling you that if Muhammad was the president of Ghana, the city would have depreciated more than this.
It was Akufo-Addo. It was Akufo-Addo.
It was depreciating more under you. And if it was depreciated under that rate, it should have been more than
no, let him finish. It was Akufo-Addo.
You are not being fair.
It was Akufo-Addo.
So when you are doing analysis, do comprehensive analysis for people to understand.
Oh, look at you.
It was the president. Look.
The rate at which it was depreciated under NDC.
This is
if it was depreciated under the same rate, it would have been worse than this.
So
it was Akufo-Addo who stood at Paga and said, during Kufuor's time, 1:1. That time, it was 2. That time it was 2-1, and he said Muhammad should come and apologize.
I am surprised that you put the rate of depreciation doesn't matter.
Today 12 cities.
I am surprised.
Today 12 cities.
I am surprised that you think that the rate
was 12 cities.
If something was depreciating 100% under Muhammad and today is depreciated at 50%, are they the same?
But you are doing Takashi analysis.
So it's not Takashi.
Let's go to
we should have been doing worse than we are now.
It's a Friday. I think your argument is that you say the percentage.
The rate of depreciation has slowed.
Okay.
In fact, if Muhammad was in government, it was depreciating like the rate at which it was under them. It should have been worse than this.
So you are
yes.
He's God. He knows.
Okay.
He's God. He's playing God. He's playing God.
But this is Takashi analysis.
It's not Takashi. The rate
go to reliefs. Go to reliefs. Go to reliefs.
What is it? Roll, I'm telling you that the rate at which, by maybe the way you are speaking, the rate at which it was depreciated under Muhammad. If it was depreciating at the same rate under MPP, it should have been worse than this.
John Bosco.
That tells you we are doing better.
John Bosco.
You tickle yourself.
John Bosco Akotia says Takashi calculation.
You are introducing this, not Takashi.
You are doing Takashi analysis.
No.